Be more and do less. Dr. Eric Holzapfel. DC Tribe Josh Thomas, glad to have you. Hey, to make sure you don't miss another episode, be sure to follow and subscribe on Apple or Spotify. And also, if you're looking to better understand how you get stuff done, head on over to dozonedna.com and take our personality profile assessment, built specifically for busy entrepreneurs. It's going to show you how to build your world around you for optimal performance. Once again, that's dozonedna.com. Today's guest is Dr. Eric Holzapfel. He's a real estate developer and entrepreneur. He's used mindfulness to transform his life, his family, and his business. He has over 40 years of business experience, taught in business school for over 20 years, and has more than 30 years of experience in mindfulness, including being a meditation and yoga instructor. Dr. Holzapfel, welcome to the Do Zone. Say what's up to the tribe and tell us something you believe is the key to getting stuff done that most people wouldn't think of.
Yeah, good morning, Josh. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate being on. Hello to everybody. Uh, I think one of the really, for me, mindfulness is the key to getting things done because if I had to say mindfulness in one word, it's focus. Clearing out the junk and focusing on what I've chosen to focus on. So I think a key to getting things done is really being able to fill your mind with the one thing that you want to get done and just doing it.
You know, there's power in the one thing, and it's Gary Keller wrote an entire
Yeah,
book on it.
yeah, it's a good book.
What is the one thing such that by doing it, everything else becomes easier or unnecessary? And I've seen so many different variations of the idea that we're doing too much stuff.
Yeah.
And I would love to get your take on that to maybe dive a little bit deeper. Why do we do too much stuff? And second, how do we fix it?
Well, I think that's how we're programmed. A lot of people, I mean, we have working hard down. We work hard,
Hmm.
do a lot of stuff, in society, I think culture programs us to be really busy. And I'm busy naturally. I like to do a lot of things too. It's just my DNA and my how I'm wired, but I don't think it's always productive. That's why my quote is do more and be less. I think if you, I mean, sorry, be more and do less. I had that opposite is that we constantly get doing and we just get caught up in doing and action, but it's not really intentional. It's not really what we're focused on. And, we haven't really thought of it with purpose and intention and really focused on it. We're just busy, and busy doesn't create results. Focus creates results.
You know, it's you're man chasing after my own heart here. I have an episode of my podcast that came out that basically says busy is a 4-letter word, and the way that you can really put this through a filter, are you ever really busy, is switch the word with unfocused. Are you busy or are you unfocused? I went
Yeah.
so far, Eric, as to go into my phone and went to the little text replacement part of my iPhone, and typed the word busy, and every time I type the word busy, it auto corrects to unfocused. Which leads to some
Uh,
hilarious results when you don't check it often
yeah.
enough. But that's really what it has to do with. You're there is no busy. You're either focused or you're unfocused.
Yeah.
And so tell me more about how did you come to this realization?
Well, because I am it. I'm a busy guy. I was running, I was very successful, monetarily and business wise and those kind of things, but just not happy, not, didn't have any peace of mind, was unhealthy, those kind of things. And once I became more mindful and more focused, that switched for me. And I think there's uh, a feeling particularly in the business world. Mindfulness is something that you have to take away from your business or away from your profits or away from something else to practice. And I've found exactly the opposite, is that if I take time for mindfulness, I'm more focused, I'm more successful, I'm less stressed, I'm more approachable for sure. And importantly, I see opportunities that I wouldn't see if I was just busy. If I'm just, flailing things up all the time, I miss a lot of good opportunities, which I try not to miss. I try to see, because it isn't always what I'm looking for that happens, but good things are out there if I can say, if I can notice them and be flexible enough to go with them. So
Good things are
I
out
think
there
it's
if I can notice them.
all the time. Failures are the start of your next success. But so many times we get closed down and we're judgmental and we're boom and we're so close that we don't see the door that opened, something else. So
You bring up an interesting point. I'm surrounded by a bunch of entrepreneurs, maybe some that even listen to this podcast, who subscribe to the hustle culture. Nothing wrong with hustling. I mean,
yeah.
that's important. Hustling's how the world goes around. But one thing that most of us miss when we're hustling is the idea that if you're driving so fast down the road, you miss that one tree that was painted
Yeah.
purple. You
Yeah.
miss that scenic view that could have taken your breath away and inspired some new chapter of your life, because
Mm-hmm.
you're not looking, because you can't, because you're focused on the road, because you're going so fast.
Yeah. And that describes me when I don't work on it. I'm driven and I go. It really takes me. I call it busyness, a personality defect of mine, that I really use mindfulness as an antidote of. That really try to slow down a little bit enough so that I can notice. Uh, there's just so many opportunities out there, and one reason we set goals and visions is so that we take intentional actions, we take meaningful actions. But those actions are the beauty. It isn't necessarily the exact result that we're going for that we get. Sometimes we do, and that's awesome. But often it's just when we take that beautiful intentional action that we've set something in motion in the universe, in the business community, and we ought to be aware to notice when it comes back around. And a lot of times we miss it. It wasn't exactly what we're looking for, so that isn't good enough. And my experience is success is noticing those opportunities, being flexible enough to jump over and say, you know what, Susie said no, but Paula said yes. I'm going to the dance. Find find those little kernels that are out there everywhere.
That's awesome. And so, do you have any quick words of wisdom for somebody who, let's say, is maybe going so fast that they can't stop and look around, or they think they can't? Are there any kind of quick hit tips? Let's say top 3 things that you can do to really slow down and focus on this mindfulness and how to really be intentional with all of your actions.
I don't know how quick a hit it is because we've
There's
been
nothing quick hit
programmed.
about mindfulness, right?
Well, we've been programmed to be not present. That's most of our program. Mine was from birth to however old we are, 30, 40, 50, whatever. I'm in my 60s now. So we've been programmed not to be present. So I think the quick hits that we get are probably ones we don't want,
Mm.
that are the heart attack or the accident or, some disaster that we have that makes us stop. I think it's an intention. It starts with an intention to be mindful, to slow down, to start noticing, and then it takes some practice. Now, the good news is, my experience, it doesn't take hours and hours or months in a monastery. You can do it in a couple minutes a day if you're consistent. We start with 2 minutes of meditation. I don't think meditation's for everybody. It has to be meditation either, but somehow what works for you mindfully, maybe it's a mindful walk or something else, but you have to pull some time away without your phone, that's intentional to start working on it. And then that starts to filter into your day at different times, that you slow down, you start noticing. But we have to notice, our thoughts that were not our thoughts. We have to start noticing them so that we don't follow every random thought that comes up. We can just look at them as, foul balls and go, that's not a good one. Let's go with this one.
And
I don't think how quick it is, Josh, to be honest. I think it takes a little time.
well, I appreciate that you redirected that, because you just proved the point here on a podcast, and I'm trying to keep everybody's attention. hey, give me some quick hit points. And you said, well, you know what? I think the problem is we're looking for the quick hits. And when you associated the quick hits with a disaster, a heart attack, a death in the family,
Mm-hmm.
those are the quick hits. Those are the ones that snatch you and say, hey, you better pay attention, man.
That's right. Yeah.
And there are more deliberate, intentional, methodical ways for us to get that mindfulness without having to be slapped in the face. But we're all used to being slapped in the face.
Well, that's what it takes, I guess, for a lot of us. But for me, I got slapped in the face, but it wasn't that. It was just, I think I was 30, 31. I just been nothing doing nothing but traveling and being successful in business. I was single. I stepped on a scale. I was 50 pounds overweight. I was having pains. I was just I still looked at it and it was just like a shock to me. I call it a transformation. I just looked at it and said, I'm not going to live long if I keep this up. You know, this is success. No, thank you. I think I'll try something else. So a shock comes to, or that quick hit comes to different ones of us different ways. But somehow we have to have something get in us to just say, hey, I need an intention of changing this and dedicating a little time to it. But as I say, I don't think it takes hours and hours a day, but a few minutes a day takes to get started.
Fascinating. And so, tell me a little bit more about that moment. You were running a successful career, traveling around in business, and everything was going great for you. And then you had that moment where you
Yeah.
realized, okay, everything's not that great. And it sounds like there was the going back to a point that you made earlier, there has to be an intention. There has to be an act that you do with intention.
Yeah.
And so you made an intentional decision to say, okay, I've got to go in a different direction.
Yeah.
What were some of those things that you were thinking at that time that led you to go in this different direction?
Well, I was drinking too much. I wasn't exercising at all. And that's where I started. I gave up drinking for a time. I went on a diet. I started running again. I was always an athlete, and I hadn't run in 5 years. It's just working. So I started that. And then the step for me that got me on the mindfulness thing was yoga. When I got in a little better shape, I saw something that just looked interesting to me. And I said, it wasn't in a studio. It was just on a DVD. And I started yoga, and that really got me into my body and started feeling things differently. So I was starting to, notice what I was eating, notice that I wanted to exercise, those kind of things. Wasn't until a few years later that my older brother turned me on to meditation, and that set me on another track. So it was a process, and it always is. It was an iterative process, but it started with me slowing down and saying, I got to do something different for my health. This is success, but I'm going to be dead. I got to do something different.
I wonder how many in our crowd right now uh, would think the same thing if they were only able to see it. Maybe that moment of stepping on the scale or having the chest pains has not yet arrived. They feel like
Yeah.
something's off, uh,
Yeah.
and they know that life should be different, but they're not quite ready to make that change. And you know, you said something that I'm starting to see things as they become relevant to me, and we all kind of do this over time. We start to see the world presents us with the clues and the knowledge and information that we need when we're ready to receive it.
Mm-hmm.
And you mentioned this about your health journey. I've never been a horribly unhealthy person, but I've never
Mm-hmm.
been like a super judicious, like militant exercise diet kind of person either, like
Mm-hmm.
by any stretch of the imagination. And I decided, you know what? I'm going to change this, not because I want to lose weight, but because it's important to me.
Mm-hmm.
And when I started doing that, I started feeling better. Not necessarily, I mean, obviously the dopamine kick and the adrenaline and the endorphins from exercising, certainly, but the fact that I was doing something every single day to take care of myself first.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody
Yeah.
else got that time but me. It was for me. And here's the thing, the weirdest thing, this happened to me yesterday, Eric. my phone got turned off. So I go work out at 6 a.m. My phone got turned off somehow in the middle of the night. And I'm sleeping like a baby. Like, this is the best night's sleep I've ever had. I'm like, oh man, this is so great. I can't wait to wake up and go work out. And then I finally open my eyes and I look at the clock and it's 6:45. And I have a workout partner that I completely bailed on,
Mm-hmm.
and I missed my window to work out. And so I could not work out that day. And man, I will tell you, I was so depressed.
Yeah.
Like, I felt physically down and emotionally down. And I can't help but attribute at least some of it to the fact that that exercise pushes me forward and makes me healthy. And if I don't get it, now it's like I'm slipping back into that person I used to be. And I don't like it.
We're habitual creatures too. We keep doing whatever it is we've been doing. And that's the good and the bad. I mean, to get started on an exercise routine or a mindfulness routine or a diet routine, it's always hard to get started, you know. But the beauty is once we turn the corner and start in the good habits, they're as hard to stop, or not maybe not quite as easy, but they're almost as hard to stop as the bad habits are once you get going. I mean, I get up in the morning and I'm just grabbing from my journal and doing, just like the book and everything just automatic. It would be really hard not to do that. And it sounds like you're getting that kind of thing for the gym. It's just what gets you going.
Yeah.
And we're habitual creatures. So what habits we form is who we become. The habits that we get going is the person we are. So to start noticing those and changing them starts with intention, and then starts with some actions that set new habits. So
And
sounds like you're well on the way.
well, I think that's where the mindfulness really comes into play, because you can't you can't be aware of how the world around you is affecting you until you start paying attention.
Yeah.
And the only way that you can pay attention is to be mindful. The only way that you can be mindful is to focus on yourself.
It's really that's what it is, right? Paying attention, mindfulness, focus. It focusing on what and I love business, and business has learned how to steal our focus, and we need to take it back. And the only one that can really take it back is us. And it starts, small intentional steps of once in a while, like your phone cut off, but once in a while setting our phone aside and saying, you know what, I think I'll go to lunch without my phone today. The world will still be here when I get back. you know we get into this thing that everything has to be instantaneous, every answer, every this, every that, and it makes it so that we're never at peace. We don't have a minute of rest, when we can just focus. So, I'm not, God's gift to mindfulness or anything else. I need it because I'm so driven and so passionate and so, and so focused that on what I'm doing. I need to once in a while say, okay, I need to focus on these holistic things a little bit too, not just on business or profit or, the next trip. I gotta really be intentional about it.
That's right. Well, I love the way your brain works. Speaking of mindfulness, let's get in there and do some do zone diagnostics. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Excellent. So, series of 5 questions here. I ask every guest, just a rapid fire. First thing that comes to mind. Number one, what's one thing you do, Eric, that keeps you focused on your goals?
I set them and I put them in a vision. I put them in a vision board that it's something I can look at every day.
Nice. And how do you get back on track when you lose that focus?
Commitments, habits, and commitments are both. Habits keep me on it every day, and my commitments that I revisit keep me back in my habits. They're things work together. Commitments can make me form habits, and habits help me make a commitment. If I make commitments that are against my habits, they're hard to keep.
Well said. And who is your support group and how do they keep you accountable?
Oh gosh, I'm so lucky. I have a support group of my family that's in this work. I have a support group at work. I brought mindfulness into the company, and it's our vision statement here is mindfully creating community. So I get that here, and I also run a living in the gap mindful leadership group or in a current cohort, and they keep me accountable and keep me going. So I've just got a great support group.
Excellent. And Eric, how do you approach a difficult project that you're not sure how to complete?
I'm a ready, fire, aim kind of guy. I just tackle them. I say if you want to make sure you do the right thing, try everything. I just go. I'm indefeatable when I get into something like that. I mean, I've failed before for sure. Nobody that's successful hasn't had failures, but I normally just I tackle it on. I'm also, I know how to put teams together, to help me to fill my deficits because I can't do everything. So I'm very good. I'm a developer. I'm very good at putting teams together to help me do the things that I can't do myself.
Awesome. And last question, what's the number one pro tip you would give to someone looking to get more stuff done in less time?
Mindfulness. Be focused. Clear out the junk that's been put in there since you were born about what is really important. Find out what's really important for yourself. Focus on it and tune the rest out because you can't focus on everything. So tune into what you want and tune out what you don't want.
There's a another guest shared with me the reticular activating system,
Yeah.
which serves kind of as a filter. Like your brain cannot possibly process all of the information it's receiving, and so your RAS, as it's called, decides what's more important to you. And so it sounds like that's one of the things that you really would
Yeah.
recommend as well. Is we have to start blocking things out.
Your RAS is your own Google search engine. We all have them. It's what you're putting up in your Google search. What do you want to search for? What you focus on expands. Put those things in there that you search for. And also, just as important is, what are you going to stay away from?
Mm-hmm.
What's bringing you down? Who are you hanging around? Your product of the 5 people you hang around the most. What do you want to manifest? What do you want to foster? And who aren't you? You know,
Mm-hmm.
you're really clear with those things. Can make a huge difference.
So tell us, what is the gap and why should we live in it?
The gap is that little space where we have some 6,000 thoughts a day, where one thought stops before another thought starts. It's where peace and joy and happiness, really success live. Stress, anxiety live in thought. So we need to think. I'm not disputing that. But we also need some spaciousness in between those thoughts. So meditation or some other mindful activity, doesn't have to be meditation, helps us start to identify, that we have thoughts, we're not our thoughts, and a little separation between our thoughts and who we are. And that's how I find happiness is success. And I think you can have that and material success too, in lieu of that.
Awesome. And so this living in the gap, the tell us a little bit more about how did this come about and who's it really
Yeah.
for?
Yeah. It's I've created Living the Gap, a mindful leadership program for business professionals that really want to make a difference, want to make a difference in their own life, in the life of their families, in their communities, and the world. That it's based on giving back, on being mindful, and on having everything, having it all. It's not like I'm going to do that in lieu of having a ski condo or taking a trip. I'm saying you can do it all if you prioritize right, you focus right, you can have a really extraordinary life of material success. I say affluence increases your influence. Why do you want material success? So I can make a bigger difference for my family, for myself, and for others. That's how I think capitalism works. And I love capitalism. I just think we need to really look around and make the differences that we know need to be made when we can make them.
That's right.
So,
Excellent. And so are there events that happen with this? Is it kind of a mastermind format? Tell me a little bit more.
yeah, we have a number of different things. We have a 21-day introduction to mindfulness we run 3 or 4 times a year. It's running right now. We'll have another one in January. We'll run an 8-week corporate mindfulness program on Zoom and in person if you're in this area, but it'll be on Zoom otherwise in January. Our primary event is a 9-month mindful leadership program that you really take a deep dive. Really take a deep dive into your own life and learn how, you can use business. You don't have to just make time for it. We say bring your business to it, how you transform your business and your personal life around it. And also, there's a book coming out, Profit with Presence, that is available for pre-sale on Amazon, be coming out in the first quarter, that outlines the programs and the tenets of the 12 pillars of mindful leadership.
Cool. And so what are some of the revelations that somebody who is a business owner, an entrepreneur who was kind of gone through this process, can you give an example of what they were able to walk away with?
Yeah, they were able to. I mean, number one is that you can prioritize yourself, your own personal work, and your family ahead of work, and get away with it. Is that's why we work. So we really teach to prioritize your own health, your own mindfulness, so you can be present, and your family and your friends that are important to you, and make sure those things are handled. And that those things will just allow you to focus more on work when you're there. If you handle those and take care of them, it isn't like we get so tied up in this frenzy that we were talking about earlier of busyness, that we really think, oh, I don't have time to do that. If you don't have time for your family and your friends, what the heck are you doing?
Yeah.
Why are we doing it? Because you find in the end, and I'm getting closer to the end than I'd like to be, you find in the end that's what you have. You know, those relationships that you formed are really what you have. Look forward to every day. So
And none of them are going to care how many extra hours you worked.
no, no, and I really believe in the be more and do less. That you get so much more done when you start watching your calendar. You'll see how much time you waste.
That's
That
right.
if you're focused, you can move the world in a few hours a day, man.
That's right. If you're focused, you can move the world in a few hours a day. That's a great quote. I'm writing that down. Um, and so, just as a kind of final thoughts here, uh, where would somebody go to engage with you and learn more about this?
Yeah, our website is the best source of information on our programs and everything we're up to. There's also free resources on there if you want to learn to meditate or mindful movement or book list to get started, those kind of things. Livinginthegap.org. Livinginthegap spelled out.org. It's a nonprofit that we've started. Has some free resources and also all of our events on there. And we have a monthly newsletter you can sign up for there about living in the gap experiences.
Excellent. Dr. Eric Holzapfel, thank you so much. I don't know that so many profound things have been said in such a compact amount of time.
Oh, thank you.
I really
Too
appreciate
kind.
it. Yeah,
You're
I
too
really
kind,
appreciate you
Josh. Thank
coming
you.
on here. Yeah, no,
Appreciate it.
I want to repeat this last thing that I heard. If you're focused, you can move the world in a few hours a day. And true words have never been spoken. That is
You can do it,
100%
man.
accurate.
You can do it. You got the
We're gonna
rest of the day. You got the rest of the day to savor the world. Save it for a few hours and then savor it the rest of the day.
That's right.
Great.
Yeah. So we're going to wrap up from here. Thanks so much to our guest, Dr. Eric Holzapfel, for joining us and sharing some wisdom on how he gets stuff done. You can connect with him directly and learn about his organization by going to livinginthegap.org. Once again, if you want to keep hearing great content like this, be sure to follow and subscribe on Apple or Spotify. And don't forget to get your own personal Do Zone DNA by visiting dozonedna.com. Until next time, remember, we all have the same 24 hours in a day. What are you going to do with yours?